Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Early Access event. In today's video, I'll be playing another sealed event of the brand new format, so thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for the promotional Early Access account. But without further ado, let's bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. Alright, so for our rares, we get another Polani's Hatcher. This card has been incredible. 5 mana for a 5/3 that comes with 2/0/1 eggs, and at the beginning of combat, you can turn one of those eggs into a 3/3 dino with haste. So this thing is insane. Even if it dies the turn after you play it, it's still a 5/3, a 3/3, and a 0/1, which is incredible. And if it doesn't, a 5/3 and 2 3/3s for only 5 mana is absurd. Also got a bunch of white rares here. Abuelo's Awakening is probably the weakest of them, so we get to pick up an artifact or a non-aura enchantment from our graveyard and turn it into a 1/1 flyer with some counters on it. So 4 mana for a 1/1 flyer, 5 mana for a 2/2 flyer. It's a pretty bad deal. The way that you get value off of this, though, is that there's a lot of artifacts, especially in this format, that have pretty major enter the battlefield effects. So you pick one up as like a 1/1 spirit and get its enter the battlefield effect again, which is pretty cute. There's Unstable Glyph Bridge, which is insane. It is a board wipe that also comes with a big creature to play later. Very easy to craft with an artifact after you cast a board wipe, because that mechanic allows you to exile an artifact from the board or your graveyard to flip it. So ideally, you cast your board wipe, maybe an artifact creature of yours died, then you exile that from grave next turn to reestablish a board state immediately. Unstable Glyph Bridge is insane. There's also the Sanguine Evangelist for another great white rare. This one's an army in a can kind of thing. 3 mana for a 2/1 with Battle Cry to give your whole board +1/+0 whenever it attacks. And it comes with a bat token when it hits the board and when it dies, so excellent card there as well. We've got green-white mana fixing to help splash in Polani's Hatcher. If we want to go green-white splash red or red-white splash green, so that's an awesome card to have. And a Souls of the Lost, probably the least likely rare to see play here, simply because of the colors. This is great for a Descend deck, one of the big graveyard mechanics in the format, of course, being Fathomless Descent, that wants you to have as many permanent cards in your graveyard as possible. So very cool in the self-mill strategies. Doesn't really go with our potential, like, white-green Polani's Hatcher, just aggro, incredible rares kind of deck that we might have going. So, now that we've checked out our rares, let's check out the multicolored and colorless cards to get things started off, see if there's anything else pushing us to a specific color pair. The Master's Guide Mural is actually a really great card for a blue-white artifacts deck, and this would be really good with Abuelo's Awakening. Pick this up from the grave, get another 4/4 out of it. And the flip side's obviously awesome if you have a lot of artifacts hitting the board. So pretty cool reason to maybe try to play blue-white here. We've also got a decent black-red signpost uncommon, but we've definitely got a lot less going on rare-wise in black and red. Then we've got another dinosaur, the Firstborn Agishath here, which is a removal spell on a stick dinosaur, if we want to play like red-green at the core alongside Polani's Hatcher. So that's definitely a card to keep track of as well. As for the colorless cards, the main thing we're looking for here is how good our colorless mana fixing is. And we have the Restless Prairie. We also have a Promising Vein we can sack for any basic land we need. Forgotten Monument, probably not really going to help mana fix us unless we have a ton of caves. Caves being the non-basic land type of the format. So we only have one other colorless cave, so I doubt we have that many. There's one common cave in every color, so we'll see. But I don't think Forgotten Monument's going to help mana-wise. I do like this Dig Site Conservator a lot. It is pretty good in a format that has so many graveyard mechanics, because once you have 4 mana, you can just use this to basically exile your opponent's entire graveyard just to slow down all their Descend stuff. And also you spend 4 mana to discover, so you can flip a card at random and cast that when you do it, so you're not even down a card by losing your 2/1 body there. So like the card quite a bit, pretty much fits into any deck. The Discover mechanic is a really fun mechanic as well. You spin that lottery wheel trying to find a solid spell out of your deck. And then we just have more mediocre graveyard interaction, more exiling, and a Runaway Boulder, which is mediocre removal that you play if you don't have good removal in your main colors. But nice to keep that in mind if we are really low on removal. So now that we've seen our multicolored and colorless, let's take a peek at each color and see where the best cards lie. Starting off, we have excellent white, but we already kind of knew that because of our rares. The Sanguine Evangelist and the Unstable Glyph Bridge already automatically make this a great color, but we have a lot of other good stuff going for us. Spring-loaded Saw Blades is pretty great. While it isn't the most flexible removal, where it only shoots a tapped creature, the fact that it does that when it enters the battlefield means it's really good with our Abuelo's Awakening, because we can then reanimate it from grave and blow up another card. And it is always a 2-for-1 because we can craft it later and get a vehicle out of our card that was also removal early, so that's pretty great. Clay-Fired Bricks is pretty slow, but again, a solid 2-for-1. Draws you the land to help get to the 7-mana ability that's then going to buff your whole board in the late game while giving you a couple more creatures. So that's quite nice as well. We have a couple Tinker's Totes, which are really good at helping with all these craft with artifact abilities, because they're going to shove 3 artifacts on the board off of this one spell, so it gives us tons of tools to craft with. We can exile the gnomes to craft, we can exile the tote from the board, or we can sack the tote and exile it from the graveyard later. So we have great artifact crafting synergy in our white, and a lot of good value stuff here, so really a big fan of how the white looks in the sealed pool. As for the blue, we've got some great pirate cards, 2 Staunch Crewmates. This is a great value play if you have a lot of pirates and artifacts in your deck. 2-mana 2-1 that draws you a card when it hits the board, so that's pretty sweet. There are quite a few kind of filler creatures here that might not be the greatest, like Shipwreck Sentry, but some solid ones like Nautilus, Spyglass Siren, Oaken Siren. We don't have a lot of Explore in this color for the Merfolk Cave Divers, so I don't think that's going to be any good. Not a lot of filling the graveyard for the Cave Worm, so that's not going to be great, but decent artifact support color, but none of the big, great artifact payoffs outside the blue-white uncommon that we saw. So could go for blue-white artifacts here, use the crewmates to draw some artifacts, use the pirates to stun things as long as we have an artifact on board, and have just a couple more cheap artifact creatures. Could be okay, but doesn't look like the perfect kind of blue artifact build here. Just some decent support options there. Checking out our black, this is very low on the quantity of cards compared to the other stuff we've had. We've got a Deadweight, which is pretty good, a Screaming Phantom, which is pretty good, and a Souls of the Lost, which is solid. That's kind of it. Nothing else great, and it's a pretty empty color quantity-wise, so can move on from there to red. Here in red, we see a Braid for super efficient removal. Some solid aggro dorks like the Tomb Raider, the Wanderglyph, the Sunshot Militia has been incredible. You just have so many random artifacts and tokens sitting around late game that this does find a lot of damage, and it can just end a board stall out of nowhere. If you get into a board stall position, which happens a lot in sealed, then by the end of it, you might have like 8 permanents on board, and you can just play a militia and deal 4 to them immediately, which is big. Cavalry's fine, Blade Masters are super filler, the Pirate's pretty good. Decent stuff in red, not incredible, just 1 removal spell. Solid creatures, I like the Ceratops at the top of the curve, but yeah, definitely more of a support color, definitely nowhere near as good as our white still. And checking out our green, got 6 2-drops. If I just want a bunch of 2-mana creatures to beat down with, we could go green-white for that, but I think that's the only thing going for our green. I guess it has top end as well. It's got the big bristleback at the top of the curve. It's got the Dreadmaw here. But having 2 staggering size +3/+3 trample tricks to go along with 6 2-mana creatures means we can leverage these combat tricks as pseudo removal spells in the early game. Also a Final Strike for removal. Green looks pretty okay. I mean, the fact that 4 of the 2-drops are 1/3s does mean that it's actually not that impressive of a curve unless we get a lot of self-mill going, which we don't really do in our white. So I don't think we're triggering Descend that fast. So really, when it comes to aggro 2-drops, it's just 2 2/2s. So yeah, and the curve's awkward where there's like nothing at 3, nothing at 5. Yeah, green also looking pretty okay. So we're like definitely playing white. So let's just get all the best white spells in here and see what might synergize with them the best. So these landmarks are more 3-mana creatures. They're 3-mana 1/4 flyers if we're crafting with artifacts. I don't think infantry is very exciting. It's designed to work with the tapper kind of cards like the red Sunshot Militia. So it's cute with that, but it's not great by itself. I think the rest of these white creatures are all pretty good on curve, though. I don't really like Might of the Ancestors. Whirlpool's okay removal. It's pretty expensive, but can be okay. We already have Petrify and Double Saw Blades, which I think are all just better than the Whirlpool. So maybe we'll drop those. Definitely keep the Clay Fire Bricks. Yeah, let's drop these cards out. And so we're looking to get 10 cards in a secondary color at this point. 11 cards if I drop both landmarks. 9 cards if I keep both. Already got 1, 2, 3, 4 3-drops. So ideally we want a secondary color with some 4 mana, 5 mana, 6 mana stuff, and some 1 mana, 2 mana stuff. So let's see. Take a look at the colorless again. We're definitely playing the Dig Site Conservator. The Wanderglyph's not great. The Runaway Boulder might be fine, because we can also cycle this just so we can craft with it later pretty easily. And if we slam it on the board, we can craft with it. Sits on the board, which is hilarious flavor, by the way. They don't often make artifacts that don't do anything on the board. But this is literally just you cast it, it does 6 damage, and then the boulder just sits there. Because that's realistically what happens after somebody gets squished by the boulder. The boulder eventually runs into a wall, and then there's just a giant boulder sitting there doing nothing. So I think this card's hilarious. And it could be decent synergy. Again, we can cycle it early for an artifact engrave. We have 3 craft with artifact cards. 4 of them when you count the glyph bridge as well. Yeah. I think I dropped the buried treasure. I mean, it's okay craft fodder, but not pumped about that. Definitely don't have the caves for Forgotten Monument, so I'd drop that too. Probably the Promising Vein as well. Just play a 2-color deck. What are the multicolored spells again? Polani's Hatcher's the best one. That incentivizes us to play white, red, or white, green and splash in the other color, but I'm actually kind of interested in trying out the blue, white so we can get the Master's Guide mural going on as a very powerful card. And I think our blue was the best synergy color that we had going, because, I mean, if we look at white, red, okay, well, that actually looks okay. Hold up. The white-red curve is pretty good. Yeah, we could do this and splash in a Polani's Hatcher. That'd be reasonable. But, like, looking at white-blue, I mean, look at that. There's so many blue spells, so many options here, and a lot of them are solid for the artifact deck. The double crewmate for sure. Drop the Sentry, but then we get 2 more artifact creatures here. We get the Siren to get a map token that we can also craft with. Cave Diver doesn't really work. Frilled Cave Worm doesn't work. Didact Echo doesn't. Benthasar with 2 caves in the deck. I guess I could have 4 caves total. Which means by the time we play it, it probably is a 6-mana 4/4 that draws 1 card. Sometimes we get lucky and we draw 2. I don't think we get to Benthasar even if I play both my colorless caves. How many caves do I have in here? Uh-oh. I forgot. I changed my mode here, so now I can't just make all the blue cards disappear by clicking blue again. We do have a green cave. That's the only cave we didn't see here. Yeah. It would be 2 more caves. I'm not going to play the green cave just because I have Benthasar. So it'd be 4 caves total for it. By the time we're casting a 6-drop, 1 cave on average, sometimes 2. Probably not worth a card. To do the Benthasar. So now that I am cutting things, I might as well. Now that I got rid of the Phantom Cards mode where I can't just click blue. It does nothing now. Keep the Blunder, probably not the Out of Air. Yeah, this blue looks like a really solid support color, and then we obviously get to play the Guide Mural and go for that blue-white artifact synergy build. But the red-white curve still looked pretty good, and obviously we have an excellent mana-fixing land for that, because we have the green-white dual land. So red-white splash in the Hatcher also seems like a very reasonable deck. So, realistically, when it comes to big win conditions, big reasons to be in this color pair, the one thing we're super gaining is the Guide Mural. Other than that, it's just decent creatures on curve with the crewmate, the Siren, and the Pirates. These aren't incredibly big reasons to be in the color. Yeah, I definitely want to also look at red-white, and I feel like I might go in that direction simply because the Hatcher, the Polani's Hatcher, is a way bigger reason to be in the color pair than the Mastercraft thing. I could put every cave in the deck and try to play this little mini board wipe. I don't think that's a thing, though. Maybe our curve's good enough to play Daring Discovery, too. Who knows? So we'd play the Prairie in here and the Promising Vein, and then we'd play Polani's Hatcher. I don't think we'd splash this in with 3 dinos in the deck. I think we would just splash in the Hatcher. Most likely. We don't have anything in our deck that pulls out basic... Oh, we do. We have a Bristleback I could throw in. Forest Cycler. But I was going to say, since we don't have anything to pull out a basic, it might be worth putting the Nursery in, but we would sack this so rarely. We would only ever sack it if we have Restless Prairie on board or a Treasure. So probably better to just have an untapped land. Even if I wasn't trying to do Bristleback, and I might try to do Bristleback here. Because then if I have a Forest and a Treasure, I cast it off the top later. Otherwise, it's just a second green source. Maybe. Maybe it still gets cut. Alright, let's see. 2 treasure producers. So we would have 2 treasure producers. A Forest and a Restless Prairie and a Promising Vein. That's 3 green lands, even without Bristleback. Yeah, I think we would actually cut Bristleback then. Why do I always call it Bristlebrack? I can't say it right. It's impossible. It gets stuck in my mouth. All right, Forest, Restless Prairie, and Promising Vein gives us 3 natural green sources, and we have 2 treasures every now and then, which is enough for a single green card in the deck, I think. And we have a lot of 3-drop stuff, so I think we drop these 1/4 flying landmarks out of the deck, most likely. Definitely got enough artifacts. Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 artifacts in this deck. We're doing great on artifact synergies still, even without the blue, because we have some treasure tokens and some red artifacts like a volatile Wanderglyph, which is cute. So Tomb Raider is probably worth it when a quarter of our permanents are artifacts, just a 1-mana 2/2 a lot of the time. Yeah. Burning Sun Cavalry, probably not, though. It's just a 2-mana 2/2 on curve. We have 3 dinos in the deck, so I could see that as a cut. Still love the Vanguard with some expendable artifacts to sack. Love the Sunshot Militia with artifacts to tap. The Wanderglyph's great. The Conservator is great. The Ruin Lurker Bat. Pretty good when we buff it up. We don't really have any ways to do that, but just a 1/1 flying lifelink that sits there scrawling every now and then is still probably worth a card. And I guess if I'm lucky, I can buff up our Ruin Lurker Bat with a Glorifier of Suffering, and that would be very nice. Or a Battlecry trigger from an Evangelist. Yeah, I think these are our best 1, 2, 3-drop creatures on curve here. Daring Discoveries are a bit expensive, but they do randomly win board stalls in the late game. You just dump your whole hand onto the board, then you shut off all their blockers and dump another card out from your deck. So that's pretty cute. That's a possibility here. How many creatures in the deck? 13? Yeah. We are a bit low on creatures for aggro. I guess Double Tinker's Tote makes 15 creatures. Awakening is also kind of a creature. 16 creatures. Does seem like we're not really going to be able to try to roll people with the Daring Discovery super well. Boulder Awakening is super cute. We can cycle the Boulder on like turn 3 and then just make a 1/1 flyer and blow up one of their creatures on turn 4. That's probably the coolest combo in the deck. cycle a boulder for Abuelo's Awakening. Yeah, I think Daring Discovery is good as the top end of like some pretty hyper aggro decks. I don't think we quite get it to make the cut though, especially when I want to cut another creature here. I think I'm just dropping these 5. And we'll just be a slower, grindier deck. Seems perfectly reasonable to me. I think we are going to call it a deck here. All right, here we have a look at our final deck list for today. We're on a red-white artifact deck here with some big old bombs in our deck. Got a little bit of a splash off a couple of treasure tokens and a really nice dual land for a Polani's Hatcher, which is a bomb we've played several times in Draft and Sealed already. I just can't stop opening this card up, so I'm gonna keep playing it until it stops showing up. We've got Unstable Glyph Bridge, though. This is definitely a new one. This is kind of a board wipe. We do have to let our opponent keep a power 2 or less creature, but we get to choose their power 2 or less creature. So we give them their weakest creature and blow up everything else, and we choose our best power 2 or less creature and blow up everything else. Then we get a creature off of this. We turn into a 5/3, so we immediately get to reestablish a board state the turn after the board wipe off of this card alone. So that's a really, really good spell there. We also have some Tinker's Tote, which work great with all the craft with artifact synergies that we have, spinning out 3 artifact permanents onto the board and 1 potentially into the grave, and plenty of great artifacts to craft with. The clay-fired bricks, ramping us up a little bit. Well, not really ramping us, but making sure we keep hitting our land drops and turning into a kiln in the late game. Saw blades for early game removal that also turns into a vehicle, so some great value artifacts like that. And some other little spicy bombs and synergies. The other spicy bomb being the Sanguine Evangelist. If we curve out aggressively, with a solid amount of 1, 2, and 3 drops, it might happen sometimes that we get some big battle cry damage off of this, especially when we have multiple cards that could make multiple creatures off one card with those double Tinker's Totes, so that can get some big battle cry swings in. And the other spicy thing we have going on, the fun kind of synergy in the end, is with Abuelo's Awakening over here. If we end up with any of these artifacts with great enter the battlefield effects in our graveyard, we can use this to pick one back up, make it a 1/1 flyer, and get its enter the battlefield effect again. So we can bring back a Tinker's Tote, have a 1/1 flyer, and 2 1/1 gnomes. If we manage to get a Saw Blades or Clay-Fired Bricks in the grave, we can bring that back, get its enter the battlefield effect, or the most hilarious combo that I really want to happen, we can cycle the Runaway Boulder and then have Grandpa's Spirit over here possess a boulder and squish something. Just hit the board as a 1/1 flyer and squish it with that 6 damage. So hopefully we can get the namesake combo of the deck, Grandpa's Revenge, going here with Abuelo's Awakening possessing a boulder. But we'll see soon enough. Looks like a really fun deck. Very excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1 with a pretty excellent opening hand. We've got some early removal with the Saw Blades and a full-on board wipe with the Glyph Bridge. We've got our red source off the Promising Vein, so we're set up to have an Abrada's interaction as well. We're definitely playing a Boros control game this time around, which is pretty interesting, but it looks pretty solid here. Full control here. And then if this Glyph Bridge comes back as the Wanderglyph and the Wanderglyph dies, we'll have it in the graveyard to reanimate with Abuelo's Awakening later, which would be nuts. I think I would... Well... No, I'm going to drop the Promising Vein here. If I played a Mountain this turn, I could hold a Braid up, but I think just holding Saw Blades up is enough. Ooh, and we might want to use it against the Blowgun, but with the board wipe in hand, I probably... I'm going to go all in on that here. Take some damage for a little while. So I've got 2 more red sources in hand, 1 white source. Let's go triple white, double red here, grab another Plains. Oh yeah, I've got a green card in this deck. I should probably make sure if I draw the Polani's Hatcher, I can cast it. I'll still have double white, double red, which is perfectly fine. Alright. Taking a lot of damage to try to kill everything with Glyph Bridge here. Okay. Gonna braid the Scout, since that is small enough to survive the Glyph Bridge. I think I'll just hold up the saw blades and saw blades it next turn if I need to. Alright, cool. I have drawn into a creature, and I can play a creature, because this survives my board wipe. So we drop the bat, and then we abrade or saw blades based on what happens this turn. Then we board wipe. I think I just take the 2 first. Because if they play another 2-power creature, then using an abrade here is just a waste. Because we'd still kill one of the 2 with our board wipe. But if they don't, then I can go ahead and abrade the scout here. Or saw blades it, and I'll go ahead and saw blades it. Since it's not going to die to the board wipe, but both their other creatures will. And here we go. Big bada boom. And I'm pretty happy to do that now because I can craft this thing as a 5/3 flyer. They're going to have to kill that with something, and when they do, I can board wipe again if I need to. So the fact that we have a backup way to board wipe again is what makes that pretty reasonable to me. Mono blue from our opponent, they're over it. They are not a mono blue deck apparently, because that was a fast concession to them hitting another island off the top. Guess that'll be a quick victory for game number 1. Just got stuck off the second color of mana. We were about to flip our 5/3 flyer, and they did not want to continue that game. 1-0 heading into round 2. Here we are for round 2 with a mono white hand, but we're cool with that when these are all good cards. Well, there's our mountain, and now we're golden. So, probably get as aggressive as possible. Play creatures each turn, play this, then play the battle cry card, then play some 1/1s, then glorifier, buff some stuff up. This is a sick aggro hand. There's so many ways to do this to get an absurd amount of power on this board quickly. Right, I can just play the Tote and then buff those 1/1s up to 2/2s, or I could play the Evangelist to start going for battle cry. Alright, they're going to immediately kill my Conservator, which is sad, but at least now they don't have removal for the Evangelist. Potentially. Okay, I'm going to drop that first. Get a 2/1 and a 1/1 flyer instead of 2 1/1s. Soul Coil Viper. So there's the blocker for the Evangelist, but we top deck a Braid to clear that out, which feels like good value, because if I don't kill it, they're going to reanimate a 5/6. So let's kill it. Nice little reanimator card there. Let's hit for 4 and drop our bricks. And we've got 6 out of 7 mana towards flipping this thing later, so that's pretty sweet. Magmatic Galleon. There goes Evangelist, but we get a bat back out of it, which is fine. Galleon's a great card. I've played this in a few draft decks. And the ability to clear out a creature and have this vehicle to crew on blocks is such a great defensive play. Crew 2 for a 5/5 is a big deal. And because it's a vehicle, it's like incredibly hard to kill with removal. Because you need instant speed removal if you're trying to kill the creature half of it. So we want to set up to sack something decent to a Glorifier here. So we're going to go 3-drop this turn and then 2 3-drops next turn, no matter how I do it. So let's, I guess, get the 3/2 on the board instead of 2 1/1s. Either way, if they have something to crew the Galleon, we don't get in, so yeah. Get the Pirate. And then we go Tote Glorifier next turn. I guess I could Tote right now, so nothing is summoning sick next turn. But then I sack the treasure. I do have an artifact engraved, so I guess I have the fodder to not need this treasure token. The treasure token lets me get to the 7 mana to flip this next turn, though. Yeah, no, let's leave that option open. Let's keep the treasure. Then I could just flip the bricks next turn instead of dropping a Glorifier, which would be a big deal. There's a Tithing Blade. Make us sack our 1/1 flyer, I think. Flying is real valuable here. Against a Galleon, potentially. Rough. I'm going to sack the 3-2, because if they play anything 2 power, yeah, then I can't attack in next turn anyway, because they've got a Galleon. And it's another Soul Coil Viper. They had 2 Soul Coils in the sealed pool for the perfect Reanimator deck for that Spike Tail. Yeah, this card is incredible with the Land Cyclers. Just 1 mana to reanimate them next turn. Terrifying. Okay. So they can pick up any creature next turn. They're going to get a 5/6 on the ground, so we can try to keep getting flying damage in. I don't think I flipped bricks yet since I drew into Militia, which is such a great play, getting a bunch of permanents out. You can play Militia and sack the Tote. Or I can drop the Glorifier here. Sacking the Tote to the Glorifier. Let's go Glorifier. They'll probably have 2 blockers up next turn, because they reanimate something for just 1 mana, and then any creature that costs 4 or less, they can play that as well. The nice thing about vehicles is it doesn't add to the number of attackers or blockers they have, because they have to tap something to use it. So there's the Spike Tail. They could crew Galleon and buff it. Get a 7 damage attack in here, but then they're leaving themselves pretty defenseless. Yes, they're not going to do that. Oh wait, maybe they can't do that, because this trigger goes on the stack before they can crew. Yeah, they have to choose a target before they can crew there. Alright, another treasure off the rock slide. They're going for it. Alright, I'll take it. Let's race. Let's race, baby. Now I flip bricks, because they've got no blockers up. I love that saying so much. I'm flipping my bricks, everybody. Boom. They're down to 5. Now Militia's just going to randomly kill them. I just poke them with this bat and then shoot them to death with Militia, even if they have like 50 blockers up. Yep, another Spike Tail, and that's going to be game. Threatening lethal, we do have to chump here. And there's the GG. We are 2-0 now, heading into game number 3. Well, here we are against the same opponent. It is time for round 2. We're doing best 2 of 3 here. It is pretty late into the early access event, so this is going to happen sometimes. Let's get the Promising Vein out for a red source. They're going to drop that Scallywag turn 2. Cool. Let's get our red source. We've got 2 different ways to get a treasure token if we draw into our green spell. Tinker's Tote for a couple 1/1s against this thing, or do I just Saw Blades it? I think I want to get some stuff on the board here, and Tinker's Tote into Glorifier is pretty excellent. If they get a consistent way to start descending, then this is going to be an issue. But I think I'm cool with it for now. And now that it's tapped, I can just blow it up with Saw Blades next turn, guaranteed. Cool, hit the Tomb Raider. That's a 1 mana 2/2 haste. Seems good. Seems good. Let's jam that in and Saw Blades the Scallywag, I think. Well, I mean, they have no way to consistently descend, so it's not necessary yet. Maybe I should save Saw Blades for something bigger. No blocks. No, we've got a great late game here. Let's just slow them down. Let's actually do the Saw Blades. Kill the Scallywag, because if I kill the Pirate, then they get a treasure from the Scallywag in the end step. This way I take 1 more damage, but I think it's better to kill a 2/2 and they don't get a treasure, then kill a 3/2 and give them a treasure. Now they have Tarian's Journal, so I'm very happy with my choice. because that can just keep sacking treasures to draw cards. Really great card draw engine, and once they run out of cards in hand, they can flip it into recasting all their creatures from grave, which is spicy. Okay, this board state is definitely a fan of Glorifier of Suffering, so I will do that. Big stuff over here. I am perfectly willing to trade a couple 3/2s off if they attack in. So I'm just going to get all my damage in here rather than saving a 2/2 to trade up. Abrade the Tomb Raider, and they take 4. Ooh, Soul Coil Viper's back. Nothing great to reanimate yet, though. But they have the mana up to Swamp Cycle something. Send in the squad, and we will Ancestors Aid if they go for a block, and then we'll just play the 5/4 Super Menace next turn. They have to block with 3 creatures, so basically a 5/4 unblockable here. Pretty big when our opponent's at 10. We just hit them with it twice and we'll win. They did not have a land cycler to discard there. They do have the Rock Slide for the Ceratops. Sad day. Ooh, and a Tithing Blade to kill another 2/2. Okay, they're getting very stable here. Sack the blade, draw a card. Yeah, they are looking to grind this out well. Got an artifact in our grave? We certainly do. Can craft this. Have a 5/5 to start beating down with in the future. Can't beat down with it this turn because it'll be summoning sick. Get as aggro as we can here. Spit out both our threats, our 3/2 and our 5/5 vehicle. Just trying to close out this game before the journal takes them all the way to Value Town. Oh no. That is terrifying. I'm happy we have an Ancestor's Aid here, so if they block with it at all, we can kill it, but then they can just reanimate it next turn anyway. But it won't have haste or anything, which is good. Wait, no, when it dies, it has to go back to their battlefield, but then they can just immediately flip it, but it'll be tapped when they flip it. Okay. Crew 1 here, I can't play another creature. So crew and attack with the biggest threats. They do block with the bat thingy-mabob. Let's go for the trick. So they can get it back if they can survive, but they did just take a hit for 5, so maybe they can't. Maybe they can't. We'll see. Slightly depends on what we discover. Saw blades? Oh, I forgot I have to click at the bottom right to draw the card. I should have drawn the card there, rather than putting it on the board, but I guess it can flip into another vehicle here, and we attack with 2 5/5s into 2 2/3s. But then they get a big lifelink attack in. If I top deck a creature or an artifact, we win by having these both on board. Oh wait, no, this one isn't flipped, so we don't. So force them to trade and chump here. What does this do if I don't have a card to discard? They draw a card. They're going to gain 4 and draw a card next turn. Snap, crackle, pop. I actually don't have an artifact engraved to craft with this thing this turn anyway. That was just, I think we actually just are losing because the misclick. If I didn't misclick and actually put this in my hand, we could just kill this when they flipped it instead. And that would have been better. Yeah, I mean, we crew and clear the board. Then they gain 4 and draw a card. Because otherwise, if I discard this land, they get a 1/1 bat. I think it's better to have them draw a card than get a guaranteed bats, because the bat's going to draw them a card anyway if they want to try to dig for something better with the journal. Now the journal can just get flipped and start casting creatures from grave. Dang it. Yeah, no, they just completely take over with journal plus Aclazotz. That's game over. Even if they hit nothing, they just cast a creature from grave every turn now. And they hit removal. Ah. Just one non-land from killing them there. Sawblades I don't think would have killed them, because they could also flip this temple, but they wouldn't have gained the 4 this turn, which would have been a really big deal, and we might have still been in the game, so rough misclick for us as well. No artifact in grave still. Alright. Where's the GG? There it is. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on board. I guess we're not technically dead if they don't have a haste creature. We still go to 2, but game's over. Yep, now we're dead. 2-1, heading into round 4. I really disliked the way they chose to notate discover cards. I think it would be a lot better if they made it like a split card, where it was like a really big picture of like cast and draw on the left and right, instead of the tiny blue button at the bottom right to draw the card, because the blue button is always just like the, ooh, ignore me. I'm hidden over here. But they have this gigantic shiny card in the middle, so the misclick there was me thinking like, oh, I have to click on the card and then tell it draw. But that's not how it works. If I click on the card, it's cast, period. So rough misclick. That game definitely could have gone on a couple more turns. We probably still lose though, because we drew into the green spell there afterwards, but maybe without the lifelink we could find a kill sometime quickly, even with them reanimating some creatures. There'd be a possibility. They could again get the lifelinker out, but it would be tapped when they do so the next turn. So take a little while to get the lifelink hit. Who knows? Here we are now for game number 4 on the play. Could grab the green source immediately just because I have 8 mountains in here. Or 7 mountains in here, I think. So I'm likely to find the Abrade mana a lot quicker than I would find the green source for the Hatcher. And we have the Hatcher. Okay, well now we're just going to play a Conservator. With the adorable Enter the Battlefield sound. And there's the red source. Beautiful. Now I can definitely crack the Promising Vein for green. Playing against all caves right now. A green cave and a white cave. So green-white from our opponent. Armored Kincaller. I can abrade that so I can hit them. Or I can spend the turn getting my green source. They reveal another Kincaller in their hand, so even if I abrade this one, they'll have another one for me to try to get through. Still got a Sawblades for the next threat, though. And I'm not going to play Glorifier right now. I don't know, I'd probably just stop attacking and just hold up both of these on turn 4. Extra 2 damage is really not that valuable. Okay, they're gonna play the other kin caller. I feel like the way this works is if I shoot this, they can then choose to reveal one from hand. Or it might have already checked when it touched the battlefield. I don't think I can stop them from gaining 3 here, regardless. I have an artifact engraved? No, so I don't have a great way to flip my saw blades right now. And saw blades can kill something bigger than a braid can kill. So maybe I abrade and save the saw blades for now. I think that's reasonable enough. I could also just try to trade all 3/3s from Hatcher into these things. Yeah, let's just save all our interaction. Play a really long, grindy one here. Full defense. Get the 3-for-1 off Polani's Hatcher. Have all the 3/3s trade 1-for-1 into their 3/3s. Have the 5/3 trade 1-for-1 into something later. Growing Rites of Itlamok, so we want to keep them off of 4 creatures for them to not just have like infinite mana. Beginning of their end step if they have 4 more creatures, and they do not, and they definitely won't if we start trading 3/3s off. Ooh, Unstable Glyph Bridge. I mean, I don't need to board wipe right now, because that would kill my Hatcher and my 3/3/2. I guess I just start using this willy-nilly and just board wipe if things go super wrong. Nothing good to sack to the Glorifier. Drop a Ruin Lurker Bat and still hold up both removal spells. I guess we just do that. Two removal spells up. I think we just go for the outrace now. I guess if they trade into the Conservator, we're not going to have any removal up because I'll spend the 4 and discover to get the 2-for-1 there. But since we've drawn into the board wipe, just having that as a backup plan is so good for us. To where even if I tap out and have no interaction up, it's like, okay, well, I can just wipe the whole board if anything really nasty happens. There's a red source. They might be on the full red-green-white for Gishath. Of course, we're on red-green-white. It's just for a Hatcher, but who knows? There's a Child of the Volcano, another card that dies to an unstable Glyph Bridge if need be. They're going to pass the turn. They're at 14 life here. Still does not feel like I want to board wipe. I think a Braid into the Child is going to be fine because it's going to get bigger here. At some point. Clay-Fired Bricks is a sweet draw. I'm 1 mana away from turning this into the Cosmium Kiln and buffing my whole board. So it's probably not worth sacking to the Glorifier. I actually don't have a great option for crafting with this, though. I'd have to craft my Conservator. Or my Saw Blades if we manage to kill something with that. I guess if I Glorifier and sack this thing to put a counter on these two, then I have the Artifact engraved for Bricks next turn, and the Bat's a 2/2 Flying Lifelinker. That's kind of cool. And I can scry into land 7. This might be wrong, but I'm just going to go for it. No value from the Discover. Should I just buff the Glorifier so they all have 3 toughness? Boom. And we have Clay-Fired Bricks mana for Cosmium Kiln. Guess I should just say we have Cosmium Kiln mana now. Healy's Lattice. Love that card in dinosaur decks. You just discard discard a dino, draw 2, and then you can craft with that dino from your grave to make a big creature. You can also shove all your dinos into this, make one big monstrosity if a lot of dinos have traded off throughout the game. So very fun card there. Got a single white mana up. I mean, show me the combat trick. +1/+3, be 5 toughness. I'd still kill the crack shot. I mean, I'd lose the hatcher, but I'd still kill that. Alright, and there's no trick. So we keep our thing, flip this and hit for 1,000,000. There's the oops from opponent. And that is lethal. We are 3-1 now. Short-term memory of an absolute champion. We are 3-1 heading into round 5, no matter what, a 50-50 run to end things off. Here we are now for game number 5. 2 5-drops and 3 red spells with no red sources is a bit awkward. I can cast the Conservator and the Vanguard no matter what, and we're on the draw. Definitely some risk here, but I'm going to keep it. Clay-Fired Bricks is a phenomenal draw, guaranteeing the 3rd land at least. There's a River Herald Scout for a 1/2 that explores. Oh my god, and it explores into the busted Jadelight Spelunker, which fits in anywhere on the curve with that X-Man ability. Honestly, literally anywhere it fits in, it's going to be spectacular, drawing a bunch of lands and surveilling a bunch. So they've got a 2/3 body, so our 2/1 doesn't do anything, so I guess it is Vanguard of the Rose time. Take the damage. Slam down a 3/3 Kin Caller. You can drop a Conservator ready to sack it to the Vanguard to trade up there. Or I can just abrade this thing and attack for 3. Or I can Clay-Fired Bricks and be ready to sack the bricks to this. Yeah, I've got 2 Ceratops in a row. I probably don't need to try to win off the 7 mana bricks ability. Send in for 3. Trade the bricks into the Kin Caller if they block. Sending in so that we can really try to speed out a kill with these Ceratops, because they're incredibly hard to block. Might be a little risky to go for the race here, but I think with a Braid and double Ceratops, we can try for it. Careening Minecart that spits out a treasure every time it attacks. And they're stuck on 3 mana, so I actually think abrading the Minecart here is going to be pretty good. But we can do it once they go for the crew to really tax them. I think I'm still trying to outrace with double Ceratops here. So they go for the crew, and then we abrade the minecart in response. Super slow them down. I guess when they move to combat, we abrade. We do not want them to get the attack trigger. Alright, here comes Kin Caller. We're down to 12. And now we start dropping down impossible to block Ceratops creatures. If they actually block the Vanguard, we just let it happen at this point. I cannot believe they would take that bluff. Well, obviously we were not expecting that. So I don't think I would make that block, because I could just sack this and then discover 4 for the turn. But we do have a much better play than doing that here. Stupefy the Ceratops. Okay. Still get to play another one, and then I can sack this one to the Glorifier. Or I can chump with it, now that they've filled the grave for the Capybara here. Take 4 damage? Chump with it later. Restless Prairie. Okay. 8 life. I can exile 4 cards from their grave. get them to descend 1. Slows them down a lot and puts the Ceratops back to being a 4/4 here. Guess it depends on what we discover into, but I'm going to go for it. It's actually a big play here. Find a plundering pirate? That's a great one. Very solid discover. Could even play the Glorifier now, but I have nothing to sacrifice at that point because I have to crack the treasure, and I'm actually really close to flipping my bricks. Will I ever say flip my bricks without laughing in this format? It's gotta happen at least once. Eventually. It is comedic, though. Alright, another permanent in their grave. Because of the trade. Can't really take all that damage. We'll see. Hopefully not a bunch of non-lands in a row. Okay, it's 1 non-land, which is still not descend enough to buff the Cappy thingy. I can flip my bricks and hit them for 3, while also having 2 blockers up, which feels pretty solid. I could also play a Ceratops and a Glorifier here. Thanks to the treasure token. Also activate Restless Prairie. Ceratops Glorifier would mean I'd have to sacrifice the bricks, which I don't want to do. I could Ceratops Tomb Raider. Just trying to set up for big damage next turn, basically. It's a hard choice. I guess next turn activate the Prairie and play Glorifier could be a big thing. Go for the bricks. Got blockers up and I can go for a big attack next turn. Oh, I can play the Tomb Raider this turn too, and now it's a 3/3? Okay. Never mind, we'll do the treasure. I guess now I don't have a great thing to sack for the Glorifier, but I think it's pretty good to be able to attack with this turn. Get a kill on the Capybara before they descend larger. Send both of those in. They're at 7. I die to a combat trick. But if I kill these, my Ceratops is smaller. I think I have enough follow-through with another Ceratops to go for the kills and make sure I don't die to a combat trick. Okay, pretty good thing I blocked. But I guess I could have blocked with just 1 and it would have been fine. Okay, they're at 7. I can play Ceratops and Glorifier. Or I could activate the Restless Prairie. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I could activate the Prairie and play a Glorifier, but it can't sack itself. So if I activate Prairie, that hits for 3. And this hits for 2, that's 5 damage, which is not lethal. So I think I go Ceratops, Glorifier, sacking Ceratops post-combat. To put a counter on the Glorifier and the new Ceratops. And we can activate Restless Prairie and attack with that as well next turn. Wait, the Prairie was going to be 4 power, so I would have hit for 6, which still wouldn't have been lethal. It would have been 1 damage off. Okay, explore into a Waterwind Scout. That's 2 blockers, but they can't block the Ceratops. This thing is just impossible to block, and we do find a victory in the end. We are now 4-1, heading into round number 6. Alright, opponent is on the play for round number 6. We've got a solid curve, Militia into the Tote, into the Glorifier. We have a board wipe at the ready later. Get a Militia down. Locks off the attacks with the Echo of Dusk. Unless they want a combat trick to kill Militia. It's probably fine because I'm going to board wipe everything later anyway. Alright, they're gonna dead weight it. Fair enough. 1-for-1 removal. Let's get the tote going. This will be a good card to craft for the glyph bridge later. Save both the saw blades if I can. Board wipe everything else. And then save these for post board wipe. Thousand Moon Smithy. This only blows up their creatures. It doesn't blow up the artifact or the land. And if this flips into a land, it is straight unbeatable. Because literally every time they cast an artifact or creature, they make another gnome soldier with power toughness equal to number of artifacts and creatures. I generally don't know how we beat that unless we draw into a braid before it flips. So we need them to not have how many permanents? In a pre-combat main phase, they can tap 5 untapped artifacts or creatures. So if they do that, they basically win with the Barracks of the 1,000. So we need them in a position where they don't have 5 permanents, but we have no way to deal with any of their permanents right now. So we can't stop that. All right. I guess I can at least just glyph bridge next turn after they shove a bunch of stuff on board and flip this thing. And then I just save the glorifier since we are just going to board wipe next turn then. Yeah. Guess that's what we're doing. Oh, pre-combat main phase. Okay, so not when they go to the combat step. It's the beginning of the pre-combat main phase, not the end of it. Okay, so they can't flip it yet. Well, maybe I should have played Glorifier and gotten aggro here then. Okay, take 3. Can craft this for my grave. It's a good sack fodder for the Glorifier on board though, so I might still want to keep it around. Cast nothing here. Alright. Restless Prairie. Find our green source if we need it. But it's all tap land, so we can't board wipe right now. And there's not much to board wipe. Yeah. Let's Glorifier it up here, I think. Alright, 1-for-1 removal on our 2/2 gnome feels decent. There's the Envoy of Okanekahau, and they have 4 permanents now towards the Thousand Moon Smithy. So if they have an instant speed 5th one, that would work. Petrify doesn't stop it, because that is a triggered ability, not an activated ability. It triggers at the beginning of their pre-combat main phase, so I can't petrify that. I can board wipe, or I can start going for 1-for-1 removal saw blades. Send in the Glorifier at least. I think I'm just going to saw blades if they try to play a permanent at instant speed here. Alright, they didn't, so they don't have 5. I guess this is a little weaker than I thought. You have to tap your whole board, basically, when you flip it, which leaves you, like, dead on the crackback. Pretty good for us. Alright, send in these 2. No blocks. I can take 7 damage here. But I probably will board wipe. Yeah, let's take the 7, because I'm going to board wipe. Let's not saw blades. Ooh, a Boilo's Awakening. Pretty sick. I could just Saw Blades, Petrify at this point. And then just go for Abuelo's Awakening and make my board even bigger. Weirdly enough. They can make 1/1/1 off of the Envoy. It's not enough for the double block and not enough to kill me on the crackback. This could be wrong, but I've gotten really excited about this Abuelo's Awakening now. Get a big flyer and more dorks. So that went about as awkwardly as possible, because since we ended up just double Saw Bladesing anyway, it would have been much better had we done it in response to their attack to stop damage as well. Alright, 5 mana removal on our 3/2 seems fine with us. They scry to the top though, so something good coming up for our opponent. Dig Site Conservator. I can just discover here, or I can Awakening the Tote as a flyer. Either of those feels pretty good to me. Nothing incredible in their graveyard, only 1 Descend card and it's locked up anyway. Let's go for Awakening. Three flyer and 2 1/1s here. Veto. They sacrifice permanents, they start gaining life and draining us for life and making 4/3s. There's the Petrify on the Tote, so I don't have a flyer anymore. So we board wipe at this point. Sadly. Yeah. Because the 1/1s aren't getting in either. We let them keep their 1/1, we keep our 2/2. I guess they can keep their Pacified Echo of Dusk. Hold up. Okay, Petrify and Glyph Bridge is actually a huge combo, not a nombo. That's actually a great combination. I'm a doofus. I thought it was going to be a bad combination, but no, we can make them keep the Petrified Guard. Contested ball game. That looks pretty bad right now, because we can steal the ball from them easily on this board. But they gotta dig for something empty-handed against 4 power on board. So I can't kill them here, but I can flip my Glyph Bridge or a Saw Blades or something. Just hit for the 4. Flip a Glyph Bridge as a blocker. Okay, I get the ball game, and I'm gonna flip this into a flyer. Draw a card, put a point counter, if it has 5 or more, sack it, get a treasure. Okay, interesting. Soaring Sandwing, gain some life, and get a large blocker. Actually is enough life to survive, because they trade there and go to 1. Let's draw the card. Find Ancestor's Aid, which is lethal, but maybe we can hit a green source, which would be even funnier. Promising Vein is a green source later. Okay, we just go for Ancestor's Aid lethal. Oh snap, I'm a doofus. This is a green source off the treasure token. I could have attacked with the llama too. Dang, I should have pre-combat used that so I could also attack with the llama, and that would have been incredible amounts of damage. Alright, got into a top deck war, and we drew incredibly well. A lot of that also being our board wipe just being a fantastic card for clearing out that veto, and being super good with our Petrify. We keep them with a pacified creature and clear out everything else. Really good stuff. Out of the sealed event, we are 5-1, heading into round number 7. Here we are for round 7. Very keepable, thanks to the clay-fired bricks for extra mana, and we've got the board wipe again. The Petrify board wipe combo too, so I'm allowed to use this early on a 2 power less creature. And then I can make it so this is a full-on one-sided board wipe, which gets ridiculous. I could insta-petrify here, and the next turn I can play bricks plus bat. Still feel like I want to save petrify for something better, so I'm just going to bricks right now, and then we have the option of pirating next turn, if need be. Poetic Ingenuity. Terrifying enchantment. Every time they cast an artifact, they get a 3/1 dino, and when those attack, they get treasure tokens too. Can't deal with that, and that's a problem. Our board wipe does not save us from that kind of nonsense. So... Ruin Lurker Bat and a Militia, and the Militia is big enough to stop Sunscribe from attacking for the turn. That seems like an okay use of this turn. And I get to keep one of these in a board wipe later. Yeah. I think this is fine. Sunfire Torch. So that is going to be able to kill my Ruin Lurker Bats, and it gives them a 3/1. And it makes the Sunscribe big enough to potentially attack past the Militia. Yeah, they're not going to kill anything. They're just going to hit for 3. Fair enough. Ooh, Abuela's Awakening for a potential double board wipe game. I could petrify the torch itself, but it's already equipped to something, so the triggered ability to sacrifice and deal 2 would still be available to our opponent to kill our bat, so I don't think petrify the torch looks any good. I think I need a treasure pretty bad, to where I just play the pirate here, maybe. Yeah. Work our way towards the glyph bridge. I think I'd rather trade a pirate off on blocks than a Militia, since the pirate will die to our board wipe no matter what. So let's get our 1 lifelink and then hold the pirate up. I guess I can hold both of these up because I can do this. Diamond Pickaxe gives them another dinosaur. Throw that pickaxe onto a dinosaur here. Trade into one of these creatures. Maybe, if they don't kill the pirate. If they kill the pirate, though, I get a free block without losing a creature. Which is fine. Cool. Block there. Down to 14. Now we can petrify the Sunscribe, and then when we board wipe, we let them keep the Sunscribe and kill everything else. But I still need to top deck another land to board wipe, or I need to cast my Ancestor's Aid just to get a treasure. 1/3 blocker for a 3/1. 1/3 for a 2/2 as well. I'm just gonna hold up Ancestor's Aid plus Saw Blades here. Ideally not casting the Saw Blades, because if we cast the Saw Blades and the Ancestor's Aid, we'll have sacked a treasure. So ideally we're only casting one of these here. But I think it's pretty good to try to get a trade up with an Ancestor's Aid. And get the mana we need for our board wipe. I guess if I just naturally kill the Sunscribe, the board wipe kills everything else. So maybe we combat trick up into the Sunscribe here to assist the board wipe. So do this. Take 4 but gain 3. So take 1 basically. They have 3 cards left. They can flip a Lattice later if they have any dinos, but they don't. Gigantic Angel, hello there. 2 cards left in hand. No land drawn here. 2 cards left in hand. They have infinite mana to play them off all these treasures. Can I afford to sit and still wait longer for the board wipe, or do I have to just do it now? Really feels like I gotta just pop it here against a 4/4 flyer, a 4/2, a 3/1. Yeah, let's just do it. Fingers crossed they're running out of artifact spells. But I do still have 2 removal spells left at least. There's an artifact spell. So they get a 2/1 and a 3/1. They can crack it immediately to discover, and they are going to do that. Nothing in our graveyard matters right now, so that's chill. They do draw into the Cosmium Blast for removal for later. They do have the mana up with all that treasure. Hey, there's a land. So they probably just Cosmium Blast our lifelinker if we attack with it ever. So they have 1 card in their hand that we don't know about. So if I just pacify this dinosaur, maybe that's it. Maybe we can stabilize from there. Fingers crossed. It is a thing to try to do. I suppose I'd probably rather Saw Blades the dino and save the Petrify. And in the dino, Saw Blades it up. Fabrication Foundry, another artifact spell. This lets them sack some to reanimate one from grave, and there's the big dinosaur to go with the lattice, so if this dies, they get to reanimate it there. So their last 2 draws were straight gas after the Cosmium Blast. Straight non-lands there, which is fantastic. There's a land to flip the Glyph Bridge. Might sack it to the Glorifier. If I sack this to the Glorifier, it's in the grave for the Awakening. They have no more cards to exile stuff from our grave right now. I think it'd be pretty obvious what I'm trying to do if I do that, though, which is a flaw. If I petrify either dinosaur, they can craft their petrified dinosaur, which is rough. Probably just spend the turn discovering at this point, I guess. Yep. Then have an artifact in graveyard to craft with, so we flip this into a 5/3 and trade it off next turn, then get in our grave for Awakening to board wipe again. Okay, there we go. See, I hate how they do this. So this giant glowing card, if you click on it, it casts it immediately. If you want to put it in your hand, you have to hit the little blue button in the corner. I wish it was like a split card where it showed both right here. It was like cast, put in hand. I think that would be better. At least it'd be harder to misclick that way. Oh, it's the combo. Grandpa's Boulder. I think I keep the boulder, but I don't think we're actually doing that combo this game. Because I think Grandpa's just going to be a board wipe. Ooh, find a Petrify, and they're just going to keep it in their hand here. Buff the dinosaur. Jam with the team. Now we have the major risk of them just petrifying this if I flip it and killing me, so I have to put it in the grave for the Awakening. You're just not missing on action. It's literally all non-land spells still. More artifact spells as well. I mean, we're hitting on non-lands as well, but we kind of want lands. Only hope is an Awakening board wipe now, and we somehow aren't dead on board, but we're pretty dead on board. We go Glorifier and Sawblades, or Glorifier and Petrify. By Petrify, they can use the Lattice, but if they use the Lattice, we just board wipe the latticed creature anyway. Land 6. Do need the 6th for the boulder. Definitely want to kill the minecart so that doesn't survive a board wipe. Two removal spells in their hand. Maybe they are finally running out of gas. But even then they can Foundry, exile some... Actually, they don't have much to exile to the Foundry, honestly. One or more artifact control with mana value X. They can do it at sorcery speed, so it doesn't work with treasure tokens, so they've got 1 mana value if the raptor dies. They actually can't reanimate anything with this. I can flip a Sawblades to have a 5/5 blocker up. They could petrify it though. If they don't petrify it, I kill a tapped creature and block with a 5/5 so that I maybe don't have to board wipe yet. Could also just board wipe their 2 cards, and then they have no creatures on board. How does this thing work? Choose a creature with power 2 or less they control. So I would want to reanimate this with 1 power, or with 1+1/+1 counter. I think I board wipe. And then they petrify this. Oh wait, it's if you cast it? It's if you cast it! Okay, so I have to... Shoot, I have to do the other thing. This whole time, my spicy play was not spicy. The boulder thing works, but the board wipe thing does not. Okay. Well, good thing I read that real quick. That would have been the saddest defeat in the end. Now I still have the most minute little baby chance here. Alright, they do go ahead and petrify the chariot. Smart play. Equip a dork. They get 2 treasure. We blow up one of these and we boulder the other one. Stop the most damage. Scampering Surveyors, they've got 2 threats coming up. So 3 total cards on this board state is horrific. Don't think I can survive 3 cards. I can make 2 of my own off of my bricks and then die to something. I can Awakening, blow up 1 card with the boulder. I can just straight blow up 1 card with the boulder. Dang. Alright, I played this one out wrong. If we had sacked Saw Blades instead of the Glyph Bridge here, yeah, if we sacked a Saw Blades instead of the Glyph Bridge, we might have still been in this game with Awakening to kill that on the Reanimate and also have a little bit mana out for something else. Dang, they just could not stop hitting gas, though. All action all day, and I don't see an out here. Yeah, nope. All I can do is get 2 1/1s. That's the most damage I can stop. That's dead. Whoa. Arena's glitching out a lot. Oh. I guess I clicked slightly too late, so it, like, did and didn't activate at the same time. Alright, that was weird. Dead either way, though, in the end. 5 and 2, heading into round number 8. Here we are for round 8, I believe against the same opponent as last time. But here we have a really great curve to start things off, and hopefully we won't have to deal with the same rare, because the vast majority of spells in their deck were just also spitting out a 3/1, so super hard to beat that enchantment rare when you just don't have ways to destroy enchantments. Clay-fired bricks. Pick up a land. Gain a couple life. We're going to grab our green source here. Big Site Conservator to trade into the Wander Glyph, or they can save it for later and try to get the Discover off of it. Find a Glorifier of Suffering with nothing to sack. Might want to cycle this Runaway Boulder. Actually, probably just draw a card off the Glorifier. At this point, digging for land 5. Now, ooh, cycling Boulder with Awakening in hand is awesome. And that'll be another way to dig for land 5. I already played my land for turn here, so I can cycle at instant speed. That way I have double Saw Blades up in case something really weird happens and we want to cast both. They're just going to Discover. They can poke us for 2 first if they want. Although we could stop them from exiling if they go for the attack and we Saw Blades, but then they still get to get the Discover, so I don't think it's worth it. We can let these cards go. Careening Minecart is the play. So they've got that for the future. Perks of playing against the same deck multiple times in a row, they get to easily play around our spring-loaded Saw Blades here. Draw our card, digging for a land, and we do not find it. Do we top deck one? We do. So I can drop the Ceratops here, or I can Boulder the Conservator. I'm just going to play the Ceratops. This thing just ends games fast. It's like impossibility of being blocked. Not attacking with Wander Glyph because they can crew and block with a 3/3. There's the giant flyer. We have found the boulder target. All right, Grandpa's revenge. Here we go. His spirit is possessing the boulder. Squish. That's so hilarious. Exile the 5/4. Sad day. Sad day. I don't think I need all these saw blades. I'm happy to have one in the grave for crafting. Seismic Monstrosaur. There's a 6/5. Ooh, crew the vehicle immediately. Stop them from discovering, and I can kill the Monstrosaur now with the saw blades. Yep. Two 1/1s or 1/3/2. Let's get 1/3/2. I can flip the bricks here, get a couple 2/2s on blocks, but then I can make my creatures both 3 toughness, so they'd have to double block to kill one. Although they could crew the minecart as a 4/4, but they're still attacking, so that's not going to be up on blocks. Very cool with me. Oh wait, no, this isn't the +1/+1 counter card, never mind. I'm an idiot, but I can attack with the prairie and buff them both up. If I do that, I still have the mana up for Vanguard, but that's it. They're at 14. I think I'm cool with that. It's a big swing. Take it all, go to 4. Opponent's trying to kill us on the crackback here. Well, here's a blocker. Alright, bring back the Conservator. Just crack it and discover. Alright, full RNG. Love to see it. What do they find? Cosmium Blast while they are tapped out of that mana. So draw it to their hand. They might have a land in hand. Oh, they do, so they can kill one attacker with that thing. Haste creature off the draw, off the top. They can block 2 creatures and kill one. There's going to be 4 attackers total. One of them is going to hit them for at least 3 damage still. I think it's worth it. They're just going to take it. Oh wait, 2 of them are going to hit. It's 5 attackers. I'm so bad at math. It's egregious. We are now 6-2 heading into the final round, the final battle, win or lose. And here we are for the final battle of the early access event. This hand's a little risky without the white source for the bricks, but it has Conservator and a Braid at the ready, and we're on the draw to hopefully get us a little more chances to draw that white source. Once we hit it, we're going to get enough mana to play Glorifier and Ceratops pretty quickly. There is the white source, but it's a tap land, which is pretty awkward. I think we play the Conservator and then hold up a Braid next turn, playing a tap land turn 3. Playing against white, red, and blue. And I'm incredibly happy to Braid one of the best rares in the format. A Neem Pakal, which gets a +1/+1 counter and spits out a gnome the first time attacks, then gets a second +1/+1 counter and spits out 2 more gnomes. Keeps going from there. Here's a Dynatomaton turn 4, a 4/3 menace, big spooky card, but we can blow it up with spring-loaded saw blades on the defense. Thanks to our clay-fired bricks finding our second white source. And then we just play a Ceratops turn 5. That's just a 5-4 unblockable, basically. And go to town from there. See if they have a +2/+2 or better. It actually would have to be +3/+3 or better, and they do not. They do get to draw 2 off their chart, of course, since they attacked with a creature. And they drop an Envoy of Okanek Ahau. Here is our Ceratops. The big boy has arrived. It's kind of funny flavor text. The first Dusk Legion expeditions were small, mobile, and lightly armored. Hundreds of casualties later, they started sending plate-clad platoons. Alright, that's a giant sandwing. I mean, I still get in with the Ceratops because it requires 5,000 blockers to do anything. So I don't think I need to boulder here. I can just poke for 5 and boulder next turn. So I can discover with the Conservator or the Courtyard instead. Either of those is pretty fun. Probably shouldn't be playing for fun here. Try to find the best play, which might be to drop a 5/5 Chariot. Do I have an artifact engraved? No. That's probably not. Let's just discover. I think this is reasonable. Without an artifact in the grave to exile here. I guess the one issue with this is sacking a land does get us farther away from the 7 mana to flip our bricks. But we'll still have the 6 mana for Boulder next turn. No Quicksand Whirlpool. Well, they had enough mana to exile it no matter what. Even if it was untapped, they have 6 mana on board now, so. Ceratops was not going to be sticking around. Send in a Vanguard. It's a very reasonable attacker. I like that. Trade the Conservator up and discover here. I think that's the play. Get a Tinker's Tote. Oh. There's a Compass Gnome. So they can find a basic or a cave and put it on top if they want more mana, but they do not want more mana. Fair enough. Jam in for 7. We'll take it, go down to 12. Oh, are they going to abrade our bricks? They could do that in response to us trying to flip it too, which would be really nasty. If they have an abrade. Abrade is going to be awesome in this format with the solid craft artifacts sitting around, alongside just being a 2 mana instant speed burn spell. Petrify the Vanguard is the play. Alright. So no abrade. Can sacrifice the Vanguard to the Glorifier now, so I can keep all my other stuff, which is pretty reasonable. Then just hold up an Ancestor's Aid to get the treasure token and guarantee a 7th mana to flip bricks next turn. Probably just do the Ancestor's Aid during my turn so I don't shoot myself in the face. Yeah. So we're very happy to see them block, because now we actually get to get some value out of it, outside of just the treasure token. Dino-Tomaton, give a creature menace. That is guaranteed to hit us for 7 now, but I can gain 3 off the tote. So we're fine. Gonna still be at 8. And then we'll flip bricks and have infinite blockers on the ground, just taking that sandwing damage in the sky. Yeah, let's buff that whole board, have some extra blockers here. Don't want to just die to removal. This is 7 damage if they have 1 removal spell to clear one of these because of the menace. Oh. 7, 8, 9, 10 if I hit with everybody. I can also just completely hold off the ground troops and just take 3 if I just send in the 4-3 here. I think I'll do that, and then I'll just boulder the Sandwing next turn. Alright, an opponent is also no longer trying to race on the ground. I'm just going to take that trade. They have to consider maybe even not attacking with the Sandwing at this point. They are not going to attack with the Sandwing. What a draw. Oh my god. I think I still want to kill the flyer right now because I'm pretty scared. Yeah, I mean, I can't get any attacks in as long as the flyer's on board anyway, since it's got that 5 toughness, so let's do that. Indiana Jones, that thing. I send in 1-3-3, so I still have a 3-3 up to block their 4-3. They are going to take the trade. Looks like we are grinding it out here in the end. Still got some leftover creatures off all these, like, 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s that have added up. They are discovering, casting a spell at random, finding a deconstruction hammer with no creatures on board. Alright, here's the Hatcher for a 4-4 haste, and then the Militia for a ton of extra damage after that. Also, the eggs are 1-2s, so we can attack them and hit them with an egg, which is so funny. They're down to 2, and Sunshot Militia, the mythic common of the format. Extra, extra lethal. Gross ending to this sealed event, but it is going to be a 7-win run. 7-2, really solid luck overall. Yeah, really fun deck. Some of what we were building around was incorrect. I did not read my cards correctly when it came to being able to reanimate the board wipe. Our board wipe only triggers when we cast it, but our Abuelo's Awakening still working with the Tinker's Totes and the spring-loaded saw blades and the runaway boulder was still pretty nice. Still liked the Abuelo's Awakening a lot, but definitely some learning moments with the Glyph Bridge there. We certainly made some really bad plays during our second loss because I was thinking that I could reanimate this as another board wipe, but I can't actually do that. So that definitely was part of one of our losses there. Some big misplays. Overall, though, really happy with the deck build. This was a really fun archetype that did some spicy things for sure, and a really powerful sealed pool in general with a Hatcher and a Glyph Bridge for massive bombs. The Evangelist didn't show up too often, but it is quite a lot of stats when it did, so that was great too. And we've got the great commons like that Sunshot Militia that played super well, and solid interaction, a Braid, double saw blades, the big runaway boulder for the hilarious namesake of the deck there. So really enjoying this format. Had a lot of fun throughout the early access events, but that is the end of the early access events. As of the release of this video, Lost Caverns of Ixalan will be live on Arena starting tomorrow, so you can all play yourself. And of course, during all of these early access videos, the pre-release has been going on throughout the weekend, so I hope you all played in that as well. If you like to play any paper Magic, the set has been really cool, really fun. I've enjoyed it quite a lot so far, and I'm hopeful that it remains a pretty interesting limited format like it is shaping up to be. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching. If you're interested in seeing more videos, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.